Good morning. Welcome to the Late to Work podcast. I'm your host, Parker, and currently I'm turning left onto a really busy street. So, I did it. Cool. Right on. Anyway, back to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining today. Happy Thursday, and I'm starting to get a little sick, sadly. But I hope it clears up in a little bit. It is a beautiful Thursday morning here in Michigan, and how's your morning going? It is sunny here, and I'm happy to have you listen to this podcast. And so this morning's submission is from Manpaul, and he's got a pretty ironic story to share. So Manpaul, if you could just jump right into it, take it away.
Hey, good morning, Parker. Thanks for having me on the Late to Work podcast. So anyway, the story I'm going with today is telling you guys how I got fired from work by actually being late to work. Funny as the podcast name being Late to Work. But that's my lame joke for the day. So I was originally employed at T-Mobile, and I was there for about a year. And at T-Mobile, I worked at 2 locations. Not going to tell those specific locations, but I worked at my original location at 3 months, and then the second location for 6 months, and then went back to the original store that I was hired in at. Now, at T-Mobile, we had these follow-up tools that we had to put all of our customers in, that anyone that did an upgrade, did an activation, new service, or any type of transactions that required financing or us running credit. And we had to follow up with them the first 24 hours, the first month, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, in 1 year. We had to do this every customer that did an upgrade or any type of transaction. And when I went back to my original store after I worked at the second location for 6 months, we had stored it in a different place or a different folder, and my manager at my original location said he couldn't find it, and because of that, he gave me a warning write-up. So I wasn't written up, but it was a formal discussion, and I got a warning for it. And the second time, I had actually forgotten to do it. About a month later, I would say I forgot to do it. And then I'd say the next 2 times that it happened, it was systematic errors. I saved them in, put them in, and for some reason the next morning when he went to check it, it wasn't there, and I got written up another 2 times. Third time being my last strike, not my last strike, but making sure I had to basically not to get on my 4th strike, which put me out basically. So I had to keep my nose clean for 3 months, meaning I couldn't be late to work. I wasn't eligible for promotions or anything like that. So I had to keep my nose clean. Couldn't do anything, couldn't mess up, anything like that. So following the day that I get written up, I'm working at an event downtown, fireworks festival. That went great. My friend Will from Indiana came up, and we had went out that night for a little bit, and the next morning I had to get up at 8 a.m. for a meeting at T-Mobile which I knew and I was aware of. The least to say, I didn't wake up for that meeting after going out, and was late to work and got fired for it. Although I didn't get fired immediately, I got fired the next day and got to put my 2 weeks in instead, because my manager liked me enough to allow me to put my 2 weeks in instead of firing me. But I technically did get fired, and that's kind of like the story I got for you. But I appreciate you, Parker. Thanks for having me on the Late to Work podcast.
And we're back. Thank you, Manpaul, for sharing your story. I'm sorry that you lost your job, but very fitting for this podcast. And thanks for sharing your story. This morning, I am on time to work, thankfully, and I hope you are as well. And today, we are going to talk about gardening. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and ever since I was little, I don't know if I'd call it lazy, but I'm definitely close to lazy, but in a way where it's I will do the absolute easiest thing possible but I'll get stuff done. Like, I'll do crazy stuff. Like, I'll do this podcast, or I'll do, like, things above and beyond and try to be, like, a perfectionist. But I hate wasting time, and I hate doing stuff that's, like, not necessary or that could be done faster. So, I mean, my degree in college is product design, so I literally invent products to be better and quicker and more useful. So it fits along with my personality. But we had a garden growing up, and I hated gardening, mainly because of the weeding. I hate weeding still, and I hated it back then. It's just like it didn't have to be done, I guess, is what it came down to. Is like, we had a grocery store, and they were perfectly fine from the grocery store, the vegetables we got from there. So why would you spend like hours a day out in the garden weeding when you could just go to the store and buy food with the money you have and get better quality products, you know? And so I hated that as a kid. And what I was always so surprised by was, no matter how hard you tried to grow your tomatoes or whatever it was, you'd always get weeds. And the weeds would always grow like twice as fast as the tomatoes. And so I thought about it, why don't we just have a garden full of weeds where they're like, we find some weeds that are edible, something that tastes good or something, I don't know, and it grows super fast, and just plant a garden of those. It'll kill everything else, and it'll grow super freaking fast, and then you'll just have a bunch of those like in a week or two. And I never understood why we haven't like found a way to do that yet, or how we haven't found a way to like mutate tomato plants with the like with weeds or something. So that's an idea I had ever since I was a kid. Like, why don't we just find edible weeds or something, a way to get around that problem? But I don't think that's ever happened. Maybe it has happened, I don't really know, but I still don't like weeding to this day, and that's my story. So thank you so much for joining today. If you ever have a story to share or some crazy visionary idea, feel free to submit your ideas by recording yourself on your phone for like 1 to 4 minutes, just real quick and easy, and then submit it to latetoworkpodcast@gmail.com. And I look forward to seeing you guys' submissions. And every single month there is a winner chosen from the submitters for this podcast, and you win a Starbucks gift card. And who doesn't like a Starbucks gift card? So get to listen to this podcast on your way to work and have a Starbucks in your hand for free. So feel free to submit, and thank you so much for listening today. My name's Parker, and I will catch you next Tuesday. Have a good weekend.